let's say that somebody has done something really bad to us. It's not that you're going to be like, I am love and only love, so keep coming at me. That's not what we're talking about.
Welcome to the Wild Roads. I'm Shona Lee.
And I'm Paula Ivy. Join us for conversations about how we don't do stuff normal.
How we choose the wild roads of life. We want to show you all that's fun and possible, building businesses, making money,
navigating relationships and parenting, things we nerd out about,
and running at our wildest dreams.
Welcome to this episode of The Wild Roads. We have the absolutely divine Ellie Bassick-Trovato with us here today. She's one of our favorite humans on this whole planet. And before we get into the love and light that is Ellie, who is an amazing human, Ellie, we like to kick off our podcast episodes with what we like to call an awkward question. So this is like an icebreaker. It's just something for us to get to know each other a little bit better. And we just like to throw out a random-ish question just so we can get into the vibes.
Don't be scared.
Conversation flow.
I don't know what's coming. Give it to me.
Okay, so we thought, because Ellie, you are all things love and light, we thought we'd ask the question, I need the microphone for this. What is your favorite love song?
Oh. I'd have to go with Breathe. I'd have to go with Breathe by Faith Hill.
Oh,
I love Faith
Hill. That's a beautiful song.
It's a beautiful song, and it was my late husband's and my song. So whenever I hear it, I think of him and I just feel like all filled up.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
I just got goosebumps. That is so beautiful. Mine is very cheesy.
What's yours? I want to hear.
So I actually have two that are my all-time favorite love songs, the power ballads. There's Extreme, More Than Words.
Oh, that's cute. Yeah.
And Mr. Big, Be With You. They would have to be my two all-time.
I don't know that one. You have to sing it for me.
Okay, hang on. I'm a really bad singer.
I'll harmonize.
I'm the one who wants to be with you.
If you
deep inside, I know you feel it too.
I love that song.
Yeah.
That's the cutest.
What about you, Shona?
I'm a little bit old school. Mine's a little bit dorky, I think. But I'm oh God. Anyone listening, I probably won't play this at my wedding if I have one, but it's just old. But it's Elvis. I Can't Help Falling in Love with You. But I love it. But I love hearing different artists do it. I love Chris Isaak's version.
Oh yeah.
Because Chris Isaak and I used to date and stuff, like, you know. I wish.
In her dreams.
I wouldn't be surprised. Like, you are a rock star. So.
No. Nah, it's just in my dreams. But there's a beautiful woman called Ingrid Michaelson. I don't know if you've heard of her, who does, her version. I'm just like, it's angelic and beautiful. So I think it's going to stick around forever. But yeah, not the Elvis version, I don't think. I think I'm a little bit past the Elvis version. But I do love that.
I love
song.
Ingrid Michaelson. I just discovered her a couple years ago. And
yes, she's amazing. It was actually Pink, because I follow Pink. I love Pink. And she said to check out this chick, Ingrid Michaelson. It was about 5-6 years ago. And I listened to her album and I was just like, whoa, where has this woman been? Incredible.
That's amazing. Have you guys seen, okay, apropos of the conversation now, but really nothing to do with the podcast. Have you guys seen Matt and Savannah Shaw, the father-daughter duet team?
No.
They started singing from their living room during COVID and all of the fun that we've been having lately. And their voices are unbelievable. I think she's maybe 16 years old.
Yeah.
And now they're doing concerts in different places. And if you look them up, you'll see them on Instagram. I think it's called Matt and Savannah. They are outstanding, and they do a lot of
Wow.
covers. Yeah.
I love stories like that. I love what was the name? The little girl that was on America's Got Talent or something. She was she played the ukulele. I can't think of her name right now. Anyway, and just how far she's come. She was only this little girl. And just the talent, and how I love those success stories when they just, you know, get out there and make their music, and it's just beautiful.
And they did this, like, really the original intention to, you know, bring it to this idea of like love and how do we be love in the world, which is my whole jam.
Yeah.
Is, you know, they wanted to uplift people who were stuck in their homes and who didn't, you know, it was all from this pure service of heart. Is how it started. And I don't think that they expected it to like take off like it did. And now it's just going gangbusters, and they're super, super talented. So I just love, I mean, they have a super wholesome family, and I love love in all of its forms, but especially when people are being super intentional about being love in the world in whatever form they're called to be it.
Exactly. I love it too, which is beautiful segue to talk about you and to, you know, like, I'm just reading from one of your posts from a little while ago that says, I'm a spiritual mentor and guide, and I show people the way home to love, to peace, to freedom, and to joy. Like, if that just encaptures like completely you, it's just that's it. That's just like this most beautiful way of explaining what you do. But I would love to hear it from your words, and to tell our audience how you do this, what you bring to the world.
Okay, so I guess that takes backing up a little bit, which is to the place where I met and married my husband, and then within a year we had our son, and then within a year he was diagnosed. My husband was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and then within a year after that he had passed away. And that was 2 months after my dad passed away. So during all of this tumultuous time in my life, I was introduced to a book called Conversations with God by Neil Donald Walsh. You guys heard of it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, it's an amazing book.
Amazing book.
And it was my first introduction to the idea that we're always putting energy out into the world with every thought, with every word, with every action. And that energy is always based on a sponsoring thought of either love or fear. And I was like, that is so wild. It's like that binary, like underneath all of the confusion and all of the different permutations of emotions, it's either love or it's fear. And so that was really an eye-opening experience for me to start to see the world that way. And so that's the way that my husband and I handled the challenge of his brain tumor. You know, we're going to expect the best, but prepare for the worst. We're going to have this super love-based focus. And I ended up creating a wellness center in his honor and in honor of my dad called Uplifting Connections. And the idea of that wellness center was to put that book, Conversations with God, into people's lives and books like it, because it made me who I am today. I knew that I was strong. I knew a lot of things, but I had also gone through depression, and I had a lot of ups and downs in my life. And it was that moment when John was diagnosed, and that moment when I was introduced to Conversations with God, that I really started to get that we create our experience. I mean, I'm speaking to the choir with you guys and perhaps with your listeners too, but that we create our future, our experience, by how we respond to the things that are happening, that it's not the things that are happening. Because if you look at it on paper, okay, her husband died, her son was 1.5 years old, her father died 2 months before that, her mother died 8 years later, it'd be like, okay, well, she could rightfully be a basket case, right? She could rightfully just kind of like feel like she wants to pack it in.
Yeah.
And yet I went in a completely different direction, because I just kept understanding, okay, love, how do I show up as love here? How do I show up as love here? And it became like my mantra, like, what's the gift in this is one of the ways that I elicit that feeling of gratitude, which is one of the emotions that's connected to love. So when I ended up selling my my wellness center, it was really with the intention, like as clearly aligned as it was to open it. And I could tell you stories that would just make, give you goosebumps about how clearly the universe told me that I was on the right path to open it. It was equally clear when it was time to close it or to sell it. So I sold it. And then I was like, I had been sort of in the back office trying to make, schedules work. It was a pretty complex system. It was a bookstore with sidelines. It was a cafe. It was healing arts events, healing arts like Reiki and massage and stuff like that. We had psychic fairs, and then we did events at night. So there was a lot of complexities, a lot of moving parts. This is not my A game, right? My A game is like, give me the people who are walking in the door and who need to be connected to a book that's going to change their life.
Yeah.
Give me those people. Like I've always been sort of naturally a coach before I even knew that there was such a thing to be a coach. And so when I sold Uplifting Connections, I decided to officially become a coach. And it's been this evolution since then. And it's my desire to take whatever I learned through the hard knocks of life or through, you know, I was a Tony Robbins Platinum Partner. I learned directly from Allison Armstrong for a year, like master's level studying of men. It's always in my heart to take my experience and my everything that I learn, the money that I spend, let me turn around and let me help the person who's coming up right behind me and pull them up beside me, just keep moving and keep bringing them with me as much as I can. And at some points they take off ahead of me, and that's awesome too. But it's like that, you know, there's some sort of statue that's, or something, I can't even remember what it is now, but it's like this, the image of a guy, and he's climbing a mountain and he's reaching behind him to help the person behind him. And the person behind him is reaching behind, it's called the Ascent, I think.
Yeah.
And so that was really became my rallying cry in terms of, all right, if my life is going to be made up of my response to the events that happen in my life, then let me choose love wherever and whenever possible. Let me make that a study. And I feel like what we do, and we don't realize that we're doing this, is our world is in a very, it's a very fear-based paradigm, right? Our thinking, our speaking, our interacting, the way that, you know, you turn on the news, it's fear-based, like everything's fear-based. The way we look at things, the way we see people as us versus them, with the way we get embroiled in conflict and judgment and all of that. And when you look at this choice of like, okay, if we came here, it's evolved to be this very spiritual understanding for me that I believe that we are spiritual beings having a physical experience. We're here to be, that we are the true essence of love, but there's been all kinds of crap that we've learned from the world about this fear-based paradigm. I call it fear speak and fear think, that's become a part of us. It's been conditioned into us, and we have these knee-jerk reactions, and we're in this stressed out place and worry and anxiety and depression and all these things without realizing that's a choice. And without realizing that the truth of who we are is actually love and only love. Like all of this other stuff came afterwards. It's this conditioning from, I think of it as like you look, it's the world that's out there, and you look in one direction and you're seeing it through this veil of illusion, and you're seeing all kinds of fear, and you're believing that we're all separate. And then you look in the other direction and you're seeing love and only love, and you're seeing that that's the truth of who we are. And so as I go on this journey, what I call a journey of spiritual evolution to this unshakable inner peace, it takes a lot to throw me off at this point because of the work that I've done over the years. So what I do is I lead people down the same path, and I have a variety of ways that I do that. I've got a free Facebook group that's got 1,500 people in it, and I'm live there every weekday and leading people through this ritual that has goddess in it. It's called the Goddess Ritual, but it's got gratitude and deep breathing and reconnecting to love as the essence of who we are. And then I have a membership called Being Love, which is a membership for spiritual evolution and a path to deep and unshakable inner peace. And then I have something called the Light Year, which is access to all of my programs. And then I do one-on-one coaching. So does that answer your questions? Kind of like a lot of information rolled into one.
Wow. I'm just fangirling over here. Like,
yeah.
Woo! It's like, seriously, Ellie, like, wow. It's completely amazing. See,
that's why you're one of our favorite humans.
Oh, absolutely.
Obviously.
What'd you say?
That's why you're one of our favorite humans on this planet, because all of that. Yes.
I'm so honored.
The work you've done with Allison Armstrong, I think that's when I met you, when we were talking about that. And that I had just finished reading The Queen's Code, which absolutely changed my life. How has that helped you with what you do in the world?
Well, it's helped me immensely in so many ways. So the way that Allison constructed that program is that there were 8 different units on understanding men. And so it would be take the concepts in the Queen's Code, but a deeper level, like a further uncovering that helps even more. So you'd study the topic for a series of weeks, and you would interview at least 10 or 15 people, men and women and men of different ages and everything. And then you would need to present your research findings, and then you would need to do at least 5 practice teachings, and then you would need to do a demonstration teaching in front of one of her people in order to be signed off on that topic. Like, it was hardcore.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Wow.
So it was really powerful for me. And then there were 7 in-person weekends. So I would fly to LA, I would fly to Dallas, wherever the in-person weekend was happening. And she would be teaching us transformational leadership. So she's really much more than just, she is, of course, an expert on men, but she is an expert on transformational leadership. So that aspect of the program was huge as well.
Yes.
Like, I can't even describe how huge that was. So for me, it changes, it informs who I am as a coach in every way. It informs who I am as a mom. I have such a relationship with my son that if I didn't know this stuff, I don't know where my relationship with him would be. And so it's changed that. It's changed my relationship with my boyfriend, who is very much a king, if you know the paradigm of the stages of development. He's very much a king. He is who he is. If I were to continue to judge him through the eyes of a woman seeing the world and thinking that men are misbehaving hairy women, then he'd constantly be misbehaving and he'd constantly be in trouble. But being able to see through the lens of understanding how his brain operates differently, I have such a profound respect for this man that I don't think I would be able to have the same level of. I don't even think that we'd probably still be together.
Yes.
And so, when he's deep into, he's a fisherman, and when he is deep into his fishing season, he is in single focus, and he is all about, providing and all of those other things. And when we first got together, I'd be like, he doesn't care about me. He's not texting me back. He's not whatever.
He loves the fish more than me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is the tuna better looking? I'm just teasing. So it has changed. It's changed my relationship with him, which has meant that I've had a different kind of support system in place while I do the work that I do. It's changed my relationship with Ben, which has changed my home life, which has enabled me to free up my energy to be able to do the work that I do. And then you add in how it has effectively, of course, I have got my program that's called The King to Your Queen. So I actually directly teach the material. But it also informs me in my private coaching. I'll have people who will come to me and we'll be talking about, their relationship. And it's just, you can see the rub, and the rub is a lack of information, a lack of knowledge. It's not a lack of love. It's not a lack of intention. It's a lack of knowledge to understand each other. So I'm able to bring that to the table and help people transform relationships. I've got people who have told me that without me, they wouldn't be engaged to the person they're engaged to, and it's, you guys know the material. So just take that material and just go deeper and deeper with it. And that's,
because building a business, like especially doing this work, your path of, your own spiritual growth and your own, growth as a human while you're doing this work and becoming the person that you're wanting to become, to do the work and have the impact that you're wanting to have, it can quite easily cause like a bigger disconnect from your husband or your partner in ways that we weren't communicating before. The gap seemed to get even bigger. But then I was introduced to the Queen's Code early on when I started building my business, thank goodness, because that actually made me understand in ways that I could communicate with him, in ways that he would get, and he would know how to take care of me, and he would know what I needed from him. Because quite often when you go through this journey of creating a business and expanding so rapidly in all the different areas and, you know, working with your shadows and all of those things, is that quite often when stuff comes up, we just want to be held and listened to. And as soon as you like let all that out and unleash it on, you know, your male partner or husband, they kind of go into, oh, okay, she needs help. How do I fix this? And they don't know what to do, when usually it's just like, I just need to be held. It's hard. Oh. And when he knows all he needs to do is hug me. He's like this big squishy ball, and he would just hug me and he'd be like, it's all good. I gotcha. And he knows he's got the, like, he takes the pressure off for him to be able to try and fix it for me. Because that's ultimately what he wants from me. It wants to do for me. And
he wants you to be happy.
He wants you to be happy. And that looks different from either side.
Yeah.
And just understanding that.
When the problem, what comes up, it appears to be a problem. So what they want more than anything else is to be able to provide, right? So, and one of the things they want to provide is our happiness.
Yeah.
And so you will actually see, you will hear men say, if I can't make you happy, then you should date somebody else. And we're like, oh, you don't really love me. How could you possibly say that? But that is him demonstrating his love. I want you to be happy. And the other thing is that because of their single focus, there's an opportunity cost. If their effort is all in, I'm going a little bit tangential here, but I find this so fascinating, that if their single focus, you know, we have this diffuse awareness, so we can be thinking about a lot of different things at the same time. And so there's not the same cost to us with focusing on one thing. But for him, single focus, tunnel vision. And so if his tunnel vision is all on you and trying to make you happy, and yet he fails again and again and again and again, it does not make sense evolutionarily for him to continue to take his life force energy, pour it all into a non-winnable game. And so one of the things that they want to do is to solve our problems, because they want us to be happy. We're upset. Problem. Let me solve the problem. And so then they're going in and they're going after the problem. In the moment, as you know, that you can communicate with them and say, you know what would provide me so much love and support right now is if you just hugged me. Like, that will solve my problem. They're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I've got this.
Yeah.
It's so often they're trying to figure out how to make you happy, that when they try and it's not the right thing, we're like, oh, what are they even doing? Like, that's what, why is he even doing that? But it's like, he's actually trying to do it because he thinks that that's going to help, and that's going to help make you happy right now. So the other really valuable thing that I learned from that book was to be really clear and direct with what I actually need.
Yes, they're not mind readers.
No, we think the little subtle like cues in our emotions and like our energy and like our body language that we give off, they don't hear or see any of that. It's just like, you need to be very direct and understanding that when they respond in a very direct yes, no sort of manner. I mean, Sean and I opened up a podcast episode the other week reading out texts from our partners. And like how non-fluffy with the love words that they are, but like we know that it's so full of love. We know that like every short answered response is because they're like, yep, okay, chick, I've done that. You're happy. Great, cool. Where else can I go help? Where else needs my, you know, my life force energy to make the world a better place?
Yeah.
And
before we knew that, it was like, he just said yes. Something's mad. Something's wrong.
Exactly.
He doesn't care. And it's like, once you know and you understand, it's like, oh, it drives me nuts when I hear women lambasting men and calling them emotionally immature and all of the things that they say. And it's like, no, you are so missing the point. You're so missing the point.
And And that's why we need people like you to educate us. We don't know it, and it's conditioning, it's passed down, and people around us, the environment we grew up in, and how they reacted to men, how they portrayed men. I guess it's very confusing for teenage girls to not know stuff, you know, and very confusing for teenage boys.
Yes.
And I really wish that I had had this background and like I've just tapped into basically as far as Queen's Code's gone, you know, with the book. But, you know, doing work with someone like yourself, you can get so much deeper in it and make things, you know, just a little bit or even a lot better for our teenage kids growing into adulthood and the relationships they're going to have,
Right.
as well as with us. Like, you know, when you said before, it's just like I had this, you know, thought in my head, just go, I need to learn some more because my son's 19, about to go 20, and I know it can be better. I know that we're doing okay, we're doing great, but I know it can be better, and there's things I need to learn. So yeah, this beautiful work. It's amazing.
And my favorite thing right now that I'm excited about is that I sort of created this way of coaching last fall that I love, and I call it Arts and Crafts for the Soul. And so I did something called Light Warrior Goddess Training, because I think we're all here to be light warrior gods and goddesses. And then I was doing a bunch of other programs. And then just recently I came back around and started doing more Arts and Crafts for the Soul. So literally this week I'm teaching something called Joy Camp. And it is so fun. It involves, I'll flash you well, I won't flash you, but I will flash you. This is what we did today in Joy Camp, and the other day. It's just so fun. There's like different
drawings and things.
Yeah, so it's like art, and you get to play with concepts and you integrate them at a completely different level when you're doing like drawings, and it's just stick figures. Like there's like little teeny drawings in here, like this is a tennis racket. So it doesn't require any like massive art skills or anything like that, but it brings things to life. Like these are fireworks.
Yeah.
So anyway, the reason it just came to my mind is because I'm doing Joy Camp now, and I'm going to be doing a man camp.
Oh. Tell us about the man camp.
You got our attention.
Hello.
It's going to be like just a really super fun way to play with the concepts and get them at a completely different level. It's going to be Arts and Crafts for the Soul. So you have a sketchbook, you have markers, and I teach you concepts. And rather than just hearing them, you're actually drawing something that depicts the concept and then thinking about how does that apply in your life. And so you get it at a different level. Because you guys well know, like, it's one thing to hear something, you're like, oh, that's so interesting. But it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to change how you're going to behave. And the way that I think of relationships is like, I've got this whole relationship equation that I teach, but two of the main things that go into what's going to equal the quality of your relationship, there's several factors on this side of the equation, but two of the main ones are, one, your place on what I call the ladder of well-being, as in, are you in a place that's in a survival-based place or a thriving kind of place? So where you are is going to depend on what you see, what you focus on. It's going to affect how you interact. So that plus knowledge about men, knowledge about how relationships work, all of that. You change the dial on either of those and the output, the quality of the relationship changes dramatically. So man camp is going to be one of those things. Like Joy Camp is you're changing the dial on your ladder of well-being and where you are emotionally. And then you add in man camp, and then you've got this knowledge about men that you're integrating at a deeper level. And so then effectively what you're doing is completely transforming the quality of your relationships.
Wow.
That would be so cool.
We're in.
Yeah.
I'm super excited.
Hey, there's this quote, Ellie, that you said in one of your posts the other day, and it really like, whoa, I think this is happening to me sometimes, and I pull myself up, right? I just wanted to see if you can expand on it. It says, your ego wants the details to put on the judge's robes and deem this person worthy and that person not. Can you expand on that, please? Because that's, whoa.
Yes, I can. Yeah, I love that. That was my audiogram, right? I think
Yeah.
that in which I was saying that. So that's from a thing that I was talking about inside the Being Love membership. So the ego, the way that I think of it is, so you've got love versus fear, two ways of looking at the world, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the ego way of looking at the world, according to A Course in Miracles, which is one of my main focuses in terms of my own spiritual practice and everything.
Yeah.
A Course in Miracles, the miracle is the shift from fear to love, where you go from body identification, thinking this ego, this body is all that we are, to love identification, spirit identification, understanding that what we actually are is love and only love, but we just happen to be traveling in a physical body right now.
Mm-hmm.
And so the ego is the part of us that thinks we are just traveling in this physical body. No, it thinks this is it. It thinks this is the whole shebang.
Yeah.
The ego does. The spirit part of us, so it's ego versus spirit, fear versus love. The spirit part of us gets it at a whole different level and sees very differently. So spirit looks for innocence. Spirit understands that if you do something to me, let's say you betray me, you do something mean to me or whatever, my body, my ego, the ego version of me is going to want to like count, is like put on the judge's robes and count all of the ways in which you wronged me. And therefore I am completely justified in coming at you, in talking bad about you, in getting people on my side. Like that's the ego, is like anytime you're embroiled in a battle of any kind of conflict, anything that feels out of ease, out of alignment, that's your ego leading. And so I think of it as the ego puts on the judge's robes. The ego thinks I get to decide who is good and who is bad. And if somebody does something to me, then they are bad. And the spirit version is that everything we do is either love or a call for love. So if you do something to me, and my spirit is taking it in, there's no judge's robes, there's love. I'm looking past your physical being that you're in this world, and I'm seeing the love that is the truth of you, that is sort of, you could sort of think of it as like behind you, like your higher self. So you do the thing to me and I see it, and as best I can, and of course we're human, and this is a practice, not a perfect, but as best I can, I try to recognize, okay, that's my ego. I don't want to act from that place. We're human. We let the feelings come up. I can't believe she's such a bitch. Can I say that?
Yeah.
In here?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. We swear.
I think I actually swore worse earlier, so that's funny. The word bitch is what, like, caught my mind. So, you know, the ego is just wanting all of this evidence of your badness and therefore my vindication in whatever I want to say or do. And the ego wants to get embroiled in drama and conflict and all of that. The spirit is just going to look at it and it's going to be like, okay, well, that was not an act of love, and therefore that is a call for love. So how do I send the energy of love? Now that's a tricky thing, right? Because let's say that somebody has done something really bad to us. It's not that you're going to be like, I am love and only love, so keep coming at me. That's not what we're talking about.
No.
What we're talking about is, all right, let my human have its moment. She's a bitch. I can't believe it. I don't want anything to do with her. Let my ego go through whatever it's going to go through. But remember that where I ultimately want to land, if I stay in that place, I am pinning myself to that level of energy.
Yeah.
I am removing the possibility of me fully inhabiting the love that I am, because I am insistent on connecting to you energetically at this level where you were at your worst.
Yeah.
So I'm tying you in space and time to being at your worst, which by the way, makes it harder for you to go on and do better. And I'm tying myself energetically in space and time to the moment at which you were at your worst for me.
Right.
So spirit instead would look at it and spirit would say, I get it. Yes. Let's decide, do we want to remove ourselves from Shona because Shona's, not showing up in a particularly nice way right now? Okay, we might decide that we remove ourselves, but can we do it without vindication? Can we do it without sucking ourselves down into the sewer? Can we do it from a place of, I see you're hurting at some level, and I just energetically am sending you love, because ultimately it's love that's going to heal the world. Shame doesn't help anybody in any way.
No.
Yeah.
Shame makes us worse. Shame does not make us better humans.
Yeah.
But if I can send you love, no matter what you've done to me, even if I decide to remove myself,
yeah.
the power in that is beyond magnitude.
Yeah, because it does let, for the other person, when you're sending love in that way, it does actually, that they have the opportunity to hear their own ego, and it just seems to calm, it really calms that. And I think it's the best way forward, just to snap out of the ego battle.
Yeah. I sometimes refer to it as, when I'm talking like more spiritually, I'll be ego versus spirit. And when I'm talking more sort of layperson, I'll be like red zone versus green zone. So red zone is fear-based ego, green zone is thriving love zone.
Yeah.
And so what I say is red zone calls red zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to get to the green zone if we want to solve the problem.
Yes.
And so you do something that's red zone, that's going to call my red zone. I get to choose. That moment of choice is the moment of ultimate freedom. Because if I am compelled to respond to you from a place of red zone, nobody's free. But if I can do my own emotional intelligence work so that I can respond to you from a place of green zone, and full green zone is not, oh, I'm better than you, so I'm going to act better than you.
Oh,
That's green zone. That's just red zone disguised.
That's a good point.
It's a wolf in sheep's clothing.
That could be me at some stages. I will put my hand up to that.
That's actually the brown zone, because if you mix red and green together, it's brown. So it's like, it's the shit. Don't even go there.
Shit in the middle.
Exactly. So I think one of the points I want to make about this is that, from a spiritual perspective, the way that I see the entity that is God, universe, source, love, whatever we call that, from my perspective, people have gotten a little bit confused, and I hope this doesn't insult anybody here, anybody who's listening, but there's this idea, a very popular idea, that God is waiting to sit in judgment ultimately of all that we do, and that we're filled with sin, and that we have to ask for his forgiveness and everything. And so, the Bible says that man was made in the image of God, but we actually make it the opposite. We make God in our image. So because we are judgy and we are vindictive and we are this and we are that, we make it that way. So we think we project that onto God. And from my perspective, God is love. And so he doesn't have judge's robes on. He sees things as either love or a call for love. Yeah. And he doesn't need us to police the universe. He's got it. Like, it's all good. And so it's,
I love that. It is. It's like we're all trying to police the universe.
We are.
We've all got our little police whistles, and we're stop. You go. You start. Like that's such a cool visual. And I actually wanted to ask you about Godding, because I absolutely love the way that you talk about God. And I mean, I don't see myself as an overly religious person. I don't really associate with the word God. I more talk spirit, universe, sort of feels better for me to explain things and to feel into things. But when you talk about God and about Godding, it actually, I was just like, yes, this is amazing. I absolutely love this. So I would love for you to share with us a bit about that and a bit about coming out of the God closet, because that was a whole thing. So backstory, Ellie, Shona and I are in the same mastermind. So we got a little bit of a behind the scenes coming out of the
God closet.
And it was the most beautiful thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just
absolutely. So a year ago, 2 years ago, I was all about, you call it the universe, you call it source, I was calling it that. Every once in a while, I would use the word God, but the word God it just feels so heavy because people use it in such a heavy way. And because, wars have been fought in its name. And so as I've been studying more and more, I've been like, I just want to be able to use the word God. I don't have to. I just want it to be one of the options on the table. Yeah. And I use it interchangeably with love, with universe, with source, and all of that. And so when I came out of the God closet, it was like this recognition. I've been avoiding using the word God because I don't want to turn people off. And I don't want people to misunderstand, and I don't want them to think that I'm like super judgy or that I'm all about sin and I'm all like that I'm like really religious. I don't see myself as religious whatsoever. I don't even know what religion I would be aligned with. I see myself as very spiritual. Yeah. And there just came a point when I was like, I don't want to keep dancing around the word God. I want to be able to say the word God when I want to say the word God. And so I literally, as you know, I put a post out there and I was like coming out of a closet and I was like coming out of the God closet. And if somebody were to come, what I said in that, it was like, if somebody were to come to your house and make a mess of your house, you don't throw the house away, right? So people started using the word God and they used it in wars and used it in all these awful ways, but you don't have to throw out the word God. If somebody came and they messed up your house, you'd clean up your house. You'd reclaim your house. And so that is my feeling of like, I even still, like, I know some people when I say the word God are like, and I get it. I totally get it. Yeah. Because it's been a journey for me. But now for me, it's just, I just use it interchangeably. And I'm like, I want to clean up the house. I want God to be an option. I want to claim the power of who I believe that God really is for that entity called God. And we're here on earth, and Glennon Doyle says it so beautifully, we're here to be God's boots on the ground. I mean, how beautiful is that?
That's so beautiful.
I love that quote.
You see a person crying and you're there and you give them a hug. God couldn't do that in that moment. God did do that though through you. God put you there, love put you there, the universe put you there. And so I think of it as like, we are God-godding. We are here to try to figure out how to be love in this situation. Love and God are the same thing to me. So in any moment when I'm trying to figure out how to be love in this situation, what does love look like in this situation? What does love look like in this situation? I'm just figuring out how do I open this channel so that I can be as guided as possible, as clear-headed and clear-hearted and open-hearted as possible, so that I can open the way to be for this person what they need in that moment, whether it's love in the form of generosity or love in the form of kindness or compassion or whatever it is. One of my recent Instagram posts was about one of the messages, like I've been having these conversations with God, and for those of you who are listening, I'm putting it in quotes, conversations with God, because who knows who I'm actually having conversations
Ellie is air quoting now with her fingers, like little bunny ears on either side of her head.
So I've been having all of these really great just like downloads that are just, oh my God, they just fill my heart so much. And one of the recent ones was about like, if there were to be a box of the puzzle of you, and you know how there's a puzzle and then there's a picture on the outside of like what that puzzle is so that you can put it together. If there were to be a box that depicted you, it would be a nameless, formless energy of love, because you are a shapeshifter. So in the moment that you see a child and you bend down to talk to them, you have shapeshifted into the form of love. It's like Wonder Twin powers activate. I don't know if you guys knew that cartoon. No, I'm too.
We had what do we have? Captain Planet.
Was that similar?
I think so. Do you remember that shot?
I don't know.
It was
No.
like fire, earth, water, air, heart, and then they formed Captain Planet, and he was kind of like this guy that would like make everything happy and love and again.
Oh, that's very cool.
Yeah.
So Wonder Twin Powers Activate was like, it was a boy and a girl, and somehow they do this in when they touched rings or something like that.
Yeah, they all had rings. And
she'd be like form of a mountain, and he'd be like shape of a whatever, and they could become whatever they wanted to be.
Oh, that is cool.
You know, to
That's
save the
like
world at that
Captain
particular moment. So this thing that came through me was like, we are shapeshifters. So, you know, we bend down to be kind to a child, and we are then love in the form of kindness. And then we make a decision to be a pen pal to somebody who's on death row. And then we're choosing to be shapeshift into being love in the form of compassion. And so it's just like we go through the day and we shapeshift into all of these different ways to be love. And I loved that when that came through. I was like,
yeah,
God.
Oh my God. Cause oh my God.
Oh my God. God's like, yes. Exactly.
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Oh my Ellie God.
Yeah. When you wrote that post and when you came out of the closet, I was like, oh, I get it. Cause I was the same. I always danced around the word God because I'm like, it's a heavy word and I don't want to be seen as religious because I don't believe and align with all the, you know, the views that are with certain religions. I'm like, I'm kind of like a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And like, I don't know where I fit.
Yeah.
So that post, you know, it was so powerful for you to create that and to really step into that, because it was powerful to receive that and to have that as an invitation of like, yeah, okay, it doesn't have to mean that you are a Christian or you know, you're a certain religious type and you hardcore follow all of the things. Like, God is love and we all are Godding here on this planet. We all have the ability to be Godding.
Yeah.
And before, like, that was just beautiful. And before we wrap up this podcast, I just wanted to ask you about being a pen pal to the inmate on death row, because that's something that you've actually you're doing right now. What's been happening?
I wrote to him. It's through something called the Compassion Prison Project. And I was really excited about the opportunity, and I saw it as an opportunity to, like, I'm always wanting to stretch that love muscle. It's like, you know, you send it to the gym again and again and again to make a muscle stronger. And so for me, like, what's the biggest muscle group I can imagine lifting is like, all right, I'm gonna find somebody on death row and I'm gonna write to them.
Yeah.
And so they gave me the name of the person and I wrote to them, and I haven't heard back. So what they told me is, if you don't hear back, then just let us know and we'll give you the name of somebody else. But it was very interesting and very confronting for me, you know, to come up against, where was that block? We all have the block somewhere. I'm all about the love, except for you.
Except for you, yeah.
Except for you. I don't love this. But I am all about the love, but not that.
Not that.
No.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, it will be, you know, some people aren't all about the love, period. Some people are all about the love until it comes to somebody who might do something to somebody in their family.
Conditional.
And some people are all about the love until it has to do with somebody doing something awful to a child. And then some people are all about the love until it has to do with murder or rape or whatever it is. It just, you know, it's these layers that you're peeling through. And if you truly are committed to being the energy of love and the essence of love in its purest form, which I am to the best of my ability, and God knows I've got the human part of me, and I still need to, you know, I'm still working on peeling away those blocks. But for me, you know, I got the name of the person. I went and I was like, should I look him up online and see if there's any information about what he did? And I did.
Yeah.
And I was like,
whoa. Because to be on death row, it has to be heavy. Like it has to be super heavy to be on death row.
Yeah. And this wasn't just one murder that he was involved in.
Wow.
Multiple like murders.
Oh.
So for me, it was a journey. Boy, was it a journey of like
how to send love.
I'm thinking about the people and the families and the, you know, you know, the children who don't have their like, but it was this beautiful opportunity for me to just be like, okay, Ellie, are you about the love or not? Now, of course, I can forgive myself for being a little hesitant when it comes to somebody who's murdered multiple people. But it's just that it's just the opening, the opportunity for that next level. And it's honestly like that saying, there but for the grace of God go I. Like the people who are in prisons, if you look at have you guys ever heard of the ACE score, the Adverse Childhood Experiences score?
No.
This is fascinating stuff. But there's a questionnaire that you can take, and it's like, did you suffer abuse? Was there a lot of drinking in your house? Did your mom raise you alone? Did you see somebody violently hurt? Did you blah, blah, like it's all of these questions that are adverse childhood experiences. And if you grew up in these adverse childhood experiences, I'm going to make up numbers because I can't remember the exact numbers, but it's something like 90% of people in prison have an ACE score of 7 or higher, which is high. So you think about the people who have made the choices to do what they've done, but you try to think of yourself growing up in those circumstances where you didn't know love, where danger was all around
love
you.
That's what love is being shown to you as, though, because you see a family or you see people treating each other like you don't know love. Like that to you would be what your benchmark for love could be in certain circumstances too.
Yeah.
Are you going to protect people with your life? Are you going to shoot other people because you're part of a gang? Are you going to, like, what is love? Yeah. So ultimately, that's where we come back to everything is either love or a call for love. So if you look at somebody who is in a prison and they made all of these choices that landed them where they were, you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what you would have done in those shoes. You have no idea. And the way to heal people is through love. And how amazing, I came to see it as this opportunity, like how amazing for me to get to truly exercise that muscle so that I don't have I'm all about the love until here. And how amazing to have the opportunity to show somebody who's on freaking death row, who looks at gray walls all day long, who has been dehumanized, somebody who has gone through awful life experiences that led them to do what they did. And now we've taken somebody who's already broken and we are further dehumanizing them. And so the opportunity to give them even just kindness, care, that might be the thing that helps to wake up the spirit in them, the love in them. Like, that's amazing.
That's a lot, isn't it? Yeah.
You're an amazing human, Ellie.
Yes, you are. And I could
to be able to get to that realization and that to think of it in that way and to get to that point is just mind-blowing. You're amazing.
Absolutely. And this will sit with me forever on now. Is this like, is it love or a call for love? I will ask myself that daily, I'm sure. And that's just going to help immensely. Well, this conversation, I tell you what, I could honestly Ellie needs her own channel as a TV show. As everyone needs to hear Ellie. I could listen to you all day, and the depth and the beautifulness, like how I feel right now, it's almost like I need to sit up in bed and have a cigarette after sex vibes, like that kind of, you know, it's like, that's a moment.
It's so true. It's so true.
It's so fulfilling. It's the best I could come up with it. You know.
I love it so much.
But
you guys
but I can.
So excited that you reached out to have me on the podcast. I think you are amazing. I wish I lived in the same country so that I could come and hug you guys. And
It will happen,
play on the
Ellie.
beach.
I will
What'd
be
you say?
hugging you in the real one day.
Yes, it will be happy. We will happen. Yeah.
Wild Rose! Wild Rose!
Wow.